gosh. These events are so much fun because you never know what to expect. It could be smoke, it could be sparks. It's just like so exciting. But I'm so excited to see all of your faces here today. It's also very, very fun to come right after my good friend Riley. It has been, give her all the applause. It's been a fun past, 8 months now being pregnant together. And we live very close to each other. So that's been a fun experience for sure. I'm so excited to talk to you guys today. This is my first SAS ever. So I'm pumped. And I know you guys have probably heard a lot of speeches about politics in the last 24 hours. I have been glued to X, I'm sure like many of you, watching all the clips, seeing all the discourse. And so I thought for the next few minutes we could kind of take a little break from that, because even though politics are really important, in order to survive in this crazy world and in this, political landscape that we all exist in right now, there are a lot of things that we need in order to stay grounded. I've been excited to talk to you guys about that specifically because you guys are all students. You are young. You are hungry. You're obviously very impressive. You have taken time out of your summer breaks to be here, which is incredible. Maybe you came alone hoping to build community. Many of you guys are in campus leadership who I got to meet over the last couple of days, and you all are, love it. So impressive. And most importantly, all of you guys are so clearly comfortable and confident standing boldly in your beliefs, which is so incredibly important. So major, major props to you guys. And while you might think that all of this is just applicable to politics and your involvement in Turning Point and your work on campus, you are already laying the foundation for an incredible life, regardless of what vocation you choose to pursue, whether it is in politics, whether you want to be a homemaker, whether you have some other thing that you want to pursue. You are building incredible skills right now. And so today I want to expand on that. Now, I am 23, so I'm not much older than you guys. I've only been married a year. I have not even had my son yet. But I would say that I have lived a bit of an unconventional life. I've been in this weird industry for a few years now, not as long as many of the speakers, so I'll leave that wisdom to them. But I've packed a lot into these 23 years. And if you don't know much about my story, I would say that my life in getting here today can kind of be summed up into 3 buckets, which I would say, number 1, is intentionally choosing not to waste my youth. Number 2, saying yes to huge, incredibly scary opportunities. And number 3, finding strength in resilience. And these are all things that you guys can start doing today. Because let's be honest, a lot of people choose to waste their 20s, even their teen years, for those of you guys who are in high school. For a lot of young people, for me, for many years, I felt like I was just on autopilot. Like people choose to treat this decade, this period of their life, they're like an extended adolescence, especially as they get into what should be adulthood. It's like this blurry phase between, being a child and being adult. We see it on social media all the time. Like, I'm just a baby. Like, I'm not going to adult today. Like, it's all of these young people just like infantilizing themselves and not wanting to just take life by the horns. And unfortunately, this is what our culture has come to promote and glorify. And people just assume that their 30s are going to be where their life really starts. That is where they'll get serious. That's where they'll settle down. That is when they will finally figure out their career and find something they're passionate about. They'll just stumble around and have fun for years, and somehow, some way, success and fulfillment and happiness will just show up in their 30s. Because the 20s are just all about having fun. But that's really not how it works. Your adolescence does not have to be and should not be a waiting room. Your teen years and your 20s are not a decade to delay real life. But the problem is, as we just talked about with our culture, most people don't see it that way. Like our culture loves to promote this idea that young people should just have fun and avoid responsibilities and ignore adulting, whatever that means, and just screw around, literally, like just hook up to numb whatever you're going through. Party all the time, scroll for 6 hours a night to avoid the existential dread of, being an adult. But that is not how it has to be. That's not how it should be. Because in all honesty, based on what I have learned and observed, your young adult years should be your launch window And if you don't use this time that you guys are all in right now intentionally, you will miss it. You only get to go through this once. Because right now, because I'm in there with you, we are in the most flexible and forgiving and underestimated season of our lives. This is the time for you to try everything. It's the time to use your youth to your advantage. I don't care if you are in high school. You should start networking. Look around at the adults in your life who you admire and respect and spend time shadowing them and asking questions about why they do what they love and why they love it so much. And instead of going home and binging a new show or starting to play a new video game or whatever you're going to do in your off time, like find an internship in a field that you are interested in. Start building a community of people around you who are smart and capable and push you. Start exploring what you love or what you think you might love and you end up hating, because I'll tell you, I thought I wanted to be a marine biologist for years. I took a class in chemistry and I was like, oh, I will never be a scientist. I could barely make it through math. And I was like, this is never going to work out for me. I also thought at one point that I wanted to be an attorney. And then I read a legal brief for the first time and I spoke to an attorney and I very quickly realized that that was not going to be my future. When my husband Alex was in high school, he thought that he wanted to go into medicine, maybe be an orthodontist. And then he followed an orthodontist around for one day. And that was enough for him. And he realized advertising actually sounds really great. And he went on a different path. So if you have the chance, you should be exploring all of this before you decide where you want to go to college or what you want to study, or even if you want to go to college in the first place, because you don't have to, if that's not the path you choose to pursue. You can be like Charlie. You can forge your own path, and you can start doing that now. And if you're already in college, you should be actively using these years to think about your next steps. Like, how can you use these 4 precious years, the professors, the connections, the safety net that you have while you're at a university, to your advantage? Because I'll tell you from experience, graduation comes really fast, and adult life will hit you like a ton of bricks. So you should be prepared. But right now, in your teens and high school, in your early 20s, you have energy. You have time. You probably don't have a mortgage yet. You don't have a family to feed or a business to keep afloat. You can pivot fast, and you can also fail. You can fail publicly and confidently and still rebuild. Which takes me to the second point that I wanted to talk to you about. Because you can take, at this age, you can take huge, massive swings, say yes to huge opportunities, and still confidently rebuild if everything comes crumbling down. And this is something that I needed to be reminded of exactly a year ago. Now, I think I have only told this story once, and it was in January when I was launching my new show. It was at a tiny, tiny little New York City comedy club where I did this pop-up event. But last summer, Alex and I were at dinner with my best friend and her parents. And I was going through it. If you were watching the comment section, you might have had no idea, but social media is not real. And I was going through it. We had just gotten married. We had bought our dream property. Everything should have been honky-dory and great. And yet, objectively, I was so unhappy. I felt like I was stuck in this rut. I felt like I had no control over my life. And truth be told, I was way too scared to do anything about it. I felt like I had no out. And so after I literally spent this entire 3-hour dinner lamenting and being anxious and sounding sad, literally drowning myself in chips and queso, we were at a Mexican restaurant, my best friend's dad turned to me and said, Brett, do you realize that you're 22 years old? You don't have kids yet. You and Alex can literally afford to burn it all down multiple times and start over multiple times if that is what it takes to get where you want to go, to find that fulfillment, to find what you are so passionate about. He said, you can swing for the fences and risk it all. So why aren't you? And nobody had asked me that. Everyone in my life, except for him, except for my husband, and except for my mother, who was amazing, everyone around me had told me to just stick with it and play it safe because I had made it and I had stability and a great show and everything seemed fine. I was encouraged to literally just put my head down and grin and bear it and push through. But that one sentence from my best friend's dad, it was the permission that I needed and that I was desperately just waiting to hear. The permission to risk it all because I was young enough to do so and I could do so confidently. So that was last July. And I spent the next 6 months fighting to do just that. And in January of this year, I went out on my own and I launched my own independent show. I swung for the fences. A massive swing for the fences. And so far, thanks to you guys, it seems to be turning out pretty well. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the show. But love you too. But no, I'll be honest, like last year, guys, it all was worth it, but it was the most terrifying and taxing year of my life. There were times when I literally just wanted to say, screw it, I'm throwing in the towel, I am stopping, I'm just gonna stop advocating for myself and my family and my future, I'm just gonna coast because this is uncomfortable and I don't wanna deal with this anymore. That would have been the comfortable option because everything was sort of fine. But by that point, number one, there was kind of no turning back. I'd already set the gears in motion. And I also knew what I needed and wanted to do. And I would have never forgiven myself if I gave up. But again, it was terrifying. And I'd love to say that this was the first time that I had to learn this lesson and that now I'm like good to go and I won't have to hear this ever again. But it is not, because grabbing your youth by the horns and taking huge swings and big risks, it is not instinctual for most of us. And for me, I'm starting to realize that it's kind of something I need to do every couple of years to stay in shape. I need to push myself, throw myself off a ledge in order to, grow as a human being. Because 4 years ago, when I can't believe it's 4 years ago now, when I was a recent grad and I was sitting in a, similar position as many of you guys, I'm sure, it was when I went to YWLS for the first time as a student. First ever Turning Point event. I had to swing for the fences for the first time. And it was after 10 years of being a child actor in Hollywood, and I was embarrassingly kind of going through a pre-quarter life crisis. And I knew that I loved acting, but I also knew that I didn't want it to be my career. I knew that I didn't want to be in LA, and due to the politics and all the vaccine mandates, it was pretty clear that Hollywood did not want me either, which was fine. That was okay, but I had to redirect. I had to literally tear up the entire plan and the entire future that I had been actively working towards as an actor for over a decade, literally since I was 8 years old. That's when I started working professionally. And I didn't really cope well with that fact. I look back on it and I'm kind of ashamed. I kind of just floated around as a recent grad for about 6 months. I toyed with law school, and then I actually withdrew on the first day of my orientation because I realized it was such a bad idea for me. I got a job copywriting and working for Young Americans for Liberty to try to, love it. To try to find some purpose and to be engaged in this movement and feel like I was, doing something to better the world. And I spent my evenings being a waitress at a steakhouse, which objectively was a ton of fun, until one evening when Daily Wire slid into my DMs. And they had seen my TikToks, and they wanted to explore starting a show with me. And obviously, I was excited, and I was honored, and you would think that I immediately jumped in and was like, yes, I'll do whatever you want. But no, I was literally paralyzed. I was terrified. I spent literally weeks not responding to emails, being terrified to meet with them. They wanted me to send in a trial, long form video reaction type thing. And I just didn't do it because I felt safe and comfortable. I felt like I was happy where I was. I had a routine. I had a good corporate job. That's all I should have wanted, right? And I enjoyed waitressing. I was living near my mom's farm that she was building. I lived with my brother. I just didn't want to leave. I thought I'm just going to stay here, be near them, and find some Idaho mountain man to marry, and everything will be totally fine. I'm not leaving. And my mom was horrified. She was so angry at me because she was watching her daughter, who, as a child, was so bold and so outspoken and so courageous, just shut the door on a huge opportunity right after she had already decided to walk away from this career and passion that she had literally spent a decade chasing. And so one night, literally, this is why parents are so important and you should listen to them, but one night I went over to her house and she literally grabs me by the collar of my hoodie and basically slaps it out of me. She was like, you need to get over yourself. If you want to play it safe, that's fine. If you're really happy, if you really believe you're happy, that's fine, but at least try. But don't sit here and just pretend like you're doing this because you actually know that this is what you want for your future, because you don't, because you've been stumbling around for 6 months. Just try and see if they offer you the job, because this opportunity will never come around again, and I will not let you live a life of regret because you were too scared to be bold and take a risk. So you better believe. Love Mama Cooper. She's the best. And so you better believe after she grabbed my collar and essentially slapped me, I drove right on back to my house and I filmed that video and I responded to those emails. And within 2 months, I had packed up my life, was moving to Nashville, and launched the comment section. And it was genuinely like a huge risk. I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea that you guys would love the show. I had no idea that we would skyrocket to 1 million subscribers in 4 freaking months, which is still so insane to me. I had no idea that my life would change overnight. I had no idea that I would walk into the office one day and come face to face with my future husband. I had no idea. And so I'm so glad that I took that risk. And it all happened because I made an intentional choice to swing for the fences and take a risk and say yes to an opportunity. To not let myself get comfortable in my 20s or in my current circumstances just because everything seemed to be going well enough and because I had time to figure it out if it wasn't right. And truth be told, because I was 18 years old or whatever it was, I did have time, but it was how I was choosing to use that time that mattered. And even though I was terrified of taking those big leaps, they were things that in a way I had been working towards. Like the reason why I had these opportunities was because I spent my high school and my college years networking and exploring every single different facet of the entertainment and the media industry, honing my skills in writing and communication, even though I had no idea how I would end up using them in my career. I was able to land on my feet when I went independent for that same reason. And I was still terrified. It was still hard to get there. It was still hard to do. There was a lot I had to learn. But I was ready. And I knew that it was the right time for me to take that risk. Because the flexibility and the freedom that we all have as young people is a massive advantage if you use it intentionally. Think about 18-year-old Charlie Kirk starting this organization. Imagine if he had pushed this off and said, no, I'm gonna go to college and party and I'll figure it out later. I'll start something important later. No, he did it now. You are never too young to start chasing your passions, to start making change in your life, in your community, literally in the country. You have no idea what you could do. And your young adult years will set the tone for the rest of your life. Not because you have to have everything figured out at 16, 17, or 18 years old, but because the habits that you form now, the risks that you take, the identity and the values that you start to build, all of that compounds over time. And sometimes, this kind of takes us to the last point, sometimes it will not work out the way that you hope. And sometimes you're gonna have to learn how to deal with that. And there is a gift in that, and that's resilience, which I think is probably the most paramount tenet of my entire life. And I guarantee, if it's not already, it will become that for you too, because at some point in life, you will have the wind knocked out of you. And things won't go according to plan. You will fail. You will get hurt. That is just, unfortunately, part of life. Maybe you will get rejected by your dream school. Maybe you won't get a job. Maybe you'll get fired. That sucks. Been there. You get over it, I promise. Maybe you'll endure tragedies that you never expected. And if you're anything like me, maybe even at your young age, you already have. If you guys know my story, if you watch that 4.5 hour long Sean Ryan interview, which was, I laid it all out. But you know that, death and divorce and mental illness and addiction, all of the things, that was a large part of my childhood. And maybe you still do everything right and things still come crashing down. You will endure pain that is out of your control. That is a given in life, unfortunately. But what is also a given is your ability to choose how you respond to that. Because as a human, you get to decide what you learn from something and how you grow and evolve from that experience. You have the power to choose whether that setback, that failure, or that tragedy will cripple you or be the fire that you need under your ass to propel you forward. And I know it's cliche to say, but it is cliche for a very good reason. But failure is a chance for all of us to learn more and do better. In my life, Alex knows this, wherever you are, if I fall short, my default reaction is, I'll do it better. And that wasn't instinctual for me, but I just had to learn that years and years. Like, I will do better, I'll come back stronger, I will prove myself. And, my upbringing could have set me on a totally different path for my life, one where I would continue the patterns of my family, where I would not break out of this generational cycle. But instead, I decided that I wanted to break the cycle, and I did that very intentionally. It would have been really easy to let my brother's death cripple me. It would have been really easy to allow my other brother's schizophrenia, that he still deals with today, to completely derail my life. But instead, both of these experiences, both of those brothers, drive me every single day to live a life that is bold and courageous and full because they never got the chance to do so. And all of that is resilience. All of it is buoyancy, or the ability to stay afloat no matter what hits you. And I promise you, maybe you don't need it now, but you will need it. So start thinking in terms of controlling how you respond, and respond in a way that is positive and empowering. Because we will need that in every part of our life. You will need it in your career, you will need it in your personal life, and we will need it in politics, especially in politics, because often things don't go according to plan there either. But as long as you guys wake up every day and choose to keep going, choose to keep moving forward positively, to make every moment in your youth, these precious, incredible years that we should be so grateful to even have, to make those count, to choose to take huge risks and swings that challenge you and scare you, you will be forging an incredible life no matter what path you choose to pursue. And so that is my hope for all of you. Those are the three things that I think have driven me, that have pushed me, that have made it so that I can be here talking with you guys, that have made it so that I could take that leap in January. And I'm so grateful that you guys helped me land on my feet. So thank you for that, and thank you guys so much for having me. See you later.